The dramatic arrest of Ovidio Guzman, a tale of chaos, violence, and government pressure. On a cold morning in January 2023, the Mexican authorities launched a daring operation to capture one of the most notorious figures in the country's criminal world, Ovidio Guzman, son of the infamous drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Ovidio, known for his role as a key figure in the Sinaloa cartel, had been a wanted man for years. But what was supposed to be a routine arrest quickly spiraled into chaos, turning the streets of Culiacan, the capital of Sinaloa, into a battleground of violent confrontations. The arrest, a tense and dangerous operation. The Mexican government had been on the hunt for Ovidio for years. As one of the leaders of the Sinaloa cartel, his arrest was seen as a significant blow to the criminal organization that controls a vast portion of the drug trade between Mexico and the United States. But the operation to capture him didn't go as planned. Early in the morning on January 5, 2023, Mexican forces swooped into the city of Culiacan with the goal of arresting Ovidio Guzman. They knew the mission would be dangerous, but what they didn't anticipate was the immediate and overwhelming response from the cartel. Ovidio, whose father, El Chapo, had become a global figure in the world of crime, was more than just a son of a legend, he was a key player in the cartel's leadership. Within moments of the arrest, a violent and intense response from the Sinaloa cartel began. Armed cartel members flooded the streets, attacking police officers, soldiers, and anyone who stood in their way. They were heavily armed with assault rifles, grenade launchers, and even armor-piercing ammunition. The cartel made it clear that they were willing to do anything to free their leader, and they weren't afraid to bring the entire city to its knees. A city in chaos, the cartel's fight to free Ovidio. The violence erupted in the streets as cartel gunmen took control of Culiacan. There were reports of high-speed chases, roadblocks, and heavy gunfights in multiple areas of the city. Cartel members stormed the streets with armored vehicles, creating a war zone. Explosions could be heard echoing through the city as cartel forces fought to overpower the Mexican military and police forces. One of the most shocking moments came when gunmen opened fire on a commercial airplane that was preparing to take off from the Culiacan airport. The airport was forced to close temporarily, and planes were grounded as gunfire rained down on the tarmac. The military and federal police struggled to maintain control as they fought back against the cartel's forces. The Sinaloa cartel's fury did not stop at the streets of Culiacan. They took their fight to the barricades of the city and kidnapped civilians as human shields to make sure their demands were met. The scene was nothing short of chaotic, a full-scale assault on the state's authority by the most powerful cartel in Mexico. Government pressure and the release of Ovidio Guzman. Amid the violence and escalating danger, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador faced intense pressure. The scenes of destruction and fears of further civilian casualties reached critical levels. The government quickly found itself in a difficult position. In a dramatic turn of events, the Mexican government agreed to release Ovidio Guzman in a desperate attempt to end the bloodshed. The release of such a high-profile criminal figure raised eyebrows across the world, but the government made it clear that the decision was a tactical move to protect the lives of innocent civilians. Thousands of people in Culiacan had already been caught in the crossfire, and there was no telling how much worse the violence could get if Ovidio were not released. The Mexican authorities had to make a hard choice: protect public safety or risk further escalation. The Sinaloa cartel, known for its ruthless efficiency and willingness to wage war for control, had effectively used terror to manipulate the government into complying with its demands. The president's remarks, a moment of reflection. When Ovidio Guzman was finally set free, President López Obrador addressed the nation, offering a glimpse into the difficult decision his government had to make. He admitted that the situation had escalated far beyond expectations, and the military was unable to regain control of the streets without risking even more lives. López Obrador stated, "The priority is the safety of citizens. We will continue our efforts to fight organized crime, but we must also act wisely to prevent further bloodshed." The decision was not an easy one, but it was made with the protection of our people in mind. Despite the criticism from both local and international observers, the government faced an uncomfortable truth. The Sinaloa cartel had proved once again that they were capable of orchestrating a level of violence that could bring a city, and even a country, close to the edge of collapse. Aftermath: the cartel's continued power. Ovidio's release was only a temporary victory for the cartel, but it was a striking reminder of the cartel's unrelenting grip on parts of Mexico. The Sinaloa cartel's power and influence remained undiminished, and the violent tactics they employed to secure Ovidio's freedom sent a clear message to both the Mexican government and the world: they were untouchable. The chaos on the streets of Culiacan would not be forgotten, and many speculated that the decision to release Ovidio would have long-lasting consequences for Mexico's efforts to combat organized crime. Critics argued that this move undermined the government's credibility and sent the message that cartels could control the narrative, even with the government in charge. In the weeks that followed, the Sinaloa cartel continued its operations as usual, while the Mexican military and law enforcement tried to regroup and reconsider their strategy for taking down the powerful criminal organizations operating within their borders. A legacy of power and fear. In the end, the story of Ovidio Guzman's arrest and release was a stark reminder of the power and reach of criminal organizations in Mexico. It revealed the terrifying extent to which cartels could manipulate the government, bringing violence to the streets and forcing leaders to make impossible choices. For the people of Culiacan, the incident would be remembered as a moment when the cartels proved their dominance and when the streets of the city were turned into a battleground for control, fear, and power. This captivating story shows the grit and raw power that organized crime can hold over governments, and it makes us wonder just how far these criminal organizations are willing to go to protect their interests. Ovidio Guzman's arrest and release was not only a moment of tension for Mexico but also a reminder of the unrelenting battle between law enforcement and organized crime.